Hey guys, what's going on? We got another Mythic Plus video here, but this
Defensive.
one's kind of different. This time I'm gonna be doing like a zero to hero type of thing, I guess, where I just show you the journey I've done with the Guardian Druid so far, and I thought it'd be quite interesting. So, just to start off, I'm showing clips of the keys that I've already done. So I built up my key. Now I did miss a couple, so I apologize for that. But as you can see, we went from an 8 to a 7 or to a 10, and then to a 13, then to a 16, and then finally I show the key of the plus 20 that I did. Now this is all pug group,
Weapon comes.
and I was actually looking at statistics on tanks, and because I wanted to know, what obviously knew what the most popular tank was is Vengeance Demon Hunter because they're insane, and Paladin would be second. But I wanted to know what the other tanks were ranked as, and it was quite interesting to see that Guardian Druid is actually above all the other ones. And from what I heard, his Guardian Druid was not very good, but apparently it's more popular than all the other tanks. And surprisingly, Brewmaster was the least popular and also had the lowest key done, which was kind of crazy. Now, lowest key meaning one level lower, so. But anyways, here we got Wakecrest Manor at a plus 20. Um, Basically, I'm just going to talk about how I feel about Guardian Druid so far. Now, my item level is 444, as you'll see. So I am quite low, but because groups do have higher item level, it is a bit more beneficial to me. All I have to do is hold aggro, and they'll do all the damage, as you can see. So it doesn't really hurt me too much. I just have to make sure I live through stuff, and that's very key. Um, I know last week I did Prot Warrior Waycrest Manor. That was also Fortified Week, and I've done it on Tyrannical Week multiple times, and I've been able to tank the Soulbound Goliath without burning him.
Shockwave.
But I knew for a fact that wasn't going to happen with Guardian Druid alone. And I've also modified my talents because I saw a lot of Guardian Druids at the top using very aggressive talents, and but they're also max geared, right? So I made some modifications, and I have played Guardian Druid throughout all of Dragonflight. Season 1 I got to 2900, and Season 2 I think I also got somewhere close to there. I didn't play it all that much. It was my primary tank character to use in Mythic Plus. Um, I didn't quite enjoy Prot Warrior as much. I honestly do. I like Prot Warrior this season, but it's kind of meh. So I kind of wanted to try another tank and see how it felt. And honestly, I'm enjoying the Guardian Druid. Now, the tier set is completely different from last session, but I think I kind of like it a bit better. It's not as strong, but it does feel kind of cool. Basically, what it does, if you don't know, when you use your Rage of the Sleeper, I think it's called. Basically, every time you spend 40 rage, or 20 rage, sorry, you gain an absorb shield that stacks up. And once your Rage of the Sleeper ends,
Mindful.
you gain that amount of absorb, and um, it only absorbs 25% of the damage dealt to you, but it also reflects the damage once you get your force set as well. So I thought that was really cool. It does apply a nice
Healing.
25% damage reduction effect on you for, probably a good few hits. I don't know if I go up in
Expect.
item level, if that will also go up in power. I'm not sure, but so far it's been really, really helpful. It's pretty high up on my damage dealt too, so I really am enjoying it. Um, right now I do feel the lackluster in power, mainly because, I'm in season 2 gear essentially. I was fairly lucky with getting the tier slots that I needed to build my 4 set already. So I just went ahead and built that because I knew it probably would be better to have that than anything else. Um, so yeah, it's been pretty great. I haven't had many issues. I have done I believe I did a 20 Darkheart Thicket Tyrannical on a Brewmaster, and that felt pretty rough. But doing these dungeons on the Guardian Druid felt completely different. I know Guardian Druid is supposed to be known for their massive HP pool and their self-healing, but I really find they have a massive group utility healing. And that's what I like. I like being able to keep my group alive and not just rely on the healer with both I don't remember what it's called, but once you spend X amount of rage, you explode with a burst of heal to everybody within a certain radius, and that's massive in some groups. And you also gain your free regrowth every so often from taking damage. It lasts 30 seconds, but it only has a 20-second cooldown. So I think that's pretty insane. I know Season 2 Guardian Druid was the tank. I believe people started leaning more towards prop paladins afterwards, but so far this season I've had or so far this, whatever I'm showing here, because I've only been playing it for this week and it's tyrannical, so that means, trash mobs aren't as powerful, and I think that's where things are really going to change. Is I find it's easier to tank tyrannical weeks than it is fortified weeks on any tank I play. And the reason why I say that is because I find the trash hurts a lot more, like a significant amount more than any boss. Now you could get hit by a one shot like Soulbound Goliath will do if you don't clear his stacks enough. If you're not a prot warrior, that is. I don't know how it works with the other tanks. I don't know if you can tank it like that, but I sure don't like to burn them as if I don't have to. Eventually, I will try that on the Guardian Druid. It felt really, really powerful, but I feel like it might not be. Um, I know I use Earth Warden. I know it's not recommended, but I find it a very, very strong talent. And if you don't know what it does, it basically, every time you thrash, you gain a stack of Earth Warden up to 3, which blocks 30% of the next auto attack damage that is dealt to you. And to me, that's a huge amount of damage, especially if you're talking about like a super massive hit like Soulbound Goliath would do. 30% of that being knocked out is basically blocking, essentially. So it's really, really powerful thing. Um, the other thing that I like is Tooth and Claw. It's really cool to see a offensive defensive effect. Basically if you use it with Raise, which is an AoE maul essentially, you reduce all the target's damage by 15%. And that's quite insane for an offensive effect. And then, I don't know, they have such a great kit. The only thing that's lackluster, I think, is just their kind of defense. I mean, you have Iron Fur, but to me, increasing your armor feels really awkward. Every other tank does like parry, block, or, just straight up self-healing, blood decay. They do have bone armor, but I don't know if I don't remember what it does. I'm pretty sure it reduces damage taken for them. I don't know if it just gives them flat armor. I don't remember. I did play it a lot at the start of the season, but I didn't really enjoy it. But I think Iron Fur could use a change. I'm not sure what to though, as I haven't played it this season much. So I think it would be cool to see some other effect maybe. I don't know. But it's mixed with Iron Thorns or Thorns of Iron. I think that's a really cool idea. The more stacks you apply, the harder this hits, and it does AoE damage. It's really cool to see a tank with a defensive, offensive, and offensive defensive effects. I really like that idea. Like, you do damage to defend or reduce their damage, and then vice versa. It's really, really cool effects, and if I compare it to Prot Warrior, you have the same resource generation, right? Rage, and that's what you primarily go off of. But Prot Warrior relies more on blocking and massive absorb shield, whereas Bear relies on self heals and a massive HP pool with a bit of armor. Well, not a bit of armor, a lot of armor because they're spamming it. But what I have noticed is you have to be very, and I noticed this in the other seasons, you have to be very picky on when you use your defensives, especially when you're dealing with tank buster effects. If you're just using them willy-nilly, you're obviously going to get blasted, just like any tank, really. Um, Maybe, I don't know if Demon Hunters, I haven't played them enough to really know, but this is where I noticed, uh, really noticed my item level
Defensive.
is you'll see how much damage I take from his darn auto attacks, but I do dodge quite a bit of his crushes, which is very, very important. Um, those ones really, really hurt. But you can see, like, every time I gain an Earth Warden stack,
Defensive.
it's just my healing just skyrockets, and it's great. I love it because if I was taking those hits head on, it would have hurt a lot more, but reducing it by 30% is crazy. And it does suck that I do have to burn the boss, but I think if I get up there in item level, I should have a lot more health for certain, but I'll have a lot more
Defensive.
armor, and I think I might be able to take this guy without having to burn him. That is my goal with every tank, especially with Soulbound Goliath. He is the one guy I hate his burn mechanic because it hurts the whole
Defensive.
group. It does damage based on how many stacks he has, but it also summons ads that people don't quite know how to deal with. And it's frustrating because people will just stand there, especially the healers. They tend to stand
Reinforce.
there and die to the burning mobs when you're supposed to move out. And I understand it's not a mechanic that you really notice until you die to it a bunch of times. Like you can see the little guys, they're chasing after them.
Defensive.
I just did a whole lot of healing, so I was able to actually pull a lot of aggro on them. So it was quite nice that they didn't focus my healer or anything. But yeah, you can really see he's hitting me for a significant amount,
Defensive.
and it shows right now. But I'm once he reaches 20%, I tend to just I don't care what happens. We're not pulling him anymore. Now, if I stacked even more Iron Furs, maybe it would have reduced it more, but it's really
Defensive.
hard to say. I think I can do this boss without pulling him to the burning phase on probably a maximum of 23 on the Druid. My Prot Warrior, it doesn't matter what key level, I could tank him no matter what. As long as I use my defensives properly, that is it. Druid, same thing. But you just have to use your defensives correct. And with the way the new tier set works, and season 2, it was actually quite overpowered, but I also think this one might be a bit better, in my opinion. Now, I'm not like a master Guardian Druid or anything, but I do prefer this season's one. Last season, basically, when you mangled, you healed for 6% of the damage you've taken in the last whatever seconds. And it was good. It wasn't bad, but it was kind of boring. I really like this. The more rage you spend, the bigger your shield, the less damage you're going to take, and the more damage you're going to reflect. I think it's a great idea for a tier set, um, but I don't think they're getting it next season. I think it's going to be back to the season 2 set, which is fine. But I
Defensive.
really like this season's tier set for Guardian Druid. I know it's probably not a very popular opinion at all. It does, it's more impactful on Mythic Plus, I think, that it is Raid, so I think that's also a big issue. But I don't know. Guardian Druid kit just has always felt good. Season 1, they were really, really rough, but I was tanking on it. It was considered the worst tank by far, um, and it showed. I did have some issues with it, but eventually I was able to figure it out and, get up there on the Raider IO, and it felt good to play. I really like to play the bad tanks, um, because a lot of groups or a lot of people in the community shun them. They're like, "Oh, we're never taking one of those tanks. They can't do anything." But in my opinion, the tanks, their capabilities aren't all that different. Like their quality to tank, I guess. The only difference is their utility towards the dungeons. Like right now, Demon Hunter is very, very strong. Probably for more reasons than just its utility, but I think the main reason is its utility, right? You gain 2 silencing sigils. You have 2 chain sigils if you take them, 2 fierce. You just have so much utility, and in my opinion, this is a very caster heavy mob type of season for dungeons with both Dawn of the Infinite, you got Everbloom and stuff like that where casts are constantly going off and you need that AoE control. Warriors do bring an AoE interrupt, but it's a minute and a half cooldown. Blood DKs do bring Death Grip, but they can't quite grab their AoE Death Grip because of talent options, which blows. Oh yeah, I keep trying to use regrowth sometimes as it falls off, and I get knocked out of bear form. I died to that. Actually, I pressed the wrong button and died to that on the last boss. Spoiler alert, sorry. But it was kind of funny. I was like, what the hell? Um, but yeah, Brewmasters, they don't really have any utility to group up, which is kind of a shame. They can use Clash to bring one target in, or, you know, Ring of Peace to bounce a couple targets in towards them, but they don't have anything to really pull units together. Paladins, they have an AoE silence technically. I call it an AoE silence, which basically they throw their avenging shield to everybody. Um, it's a massive AoE effect. It's really powerful. Also, Avenger's shield is just always off cooldown, so they can silence and interrupt everything at the same time. It's kind of insane. But yeah, I think that's where the other tanks lack is the utility to shut down caster units. And I get it. It sucks when you can't shut them down. Uh, but I don't know if making everybody have that type of utility is best, because if you take a look at Prot Warrior, they're the best thing for taking physical damage. Like, no other tank can take the amount of physical damage they do. Guardian Druids, I'm not quite sure what their strength is. Maybe it's more designed towards their group utility than anything. Having that group AoE heal, you know, the regrowths to help everybody. But it's kind of in line with that Prot Paladin where they can also heal. And the boss reset here, by the way, so we have no idea why. It was really weird. I don't... It's happened a couple times in runs that I've done. I'm not sure what's triggering it at all, but it's really freaking annoying. Uh, but anyways, yeah. So Guardian Druid strength is probably its group healing abilities, keeping everybody alive. Same with Prot Paladin, but they also gain the AoE. But I don't think Prot Pallies are as tanky as everybody else. And what I mean by that is that I think they take a bit more damage, right? So like if they're dealing with a tank buster, they're going to get chunked a whole lot more. They don't have as much defensive quality to deal with it. But they do have the ability to block spells, which is kind of huge. Prot Warriors do as well get that. But yeah, it's a minute and a half cooldown, whereas I think Prot Paladins get it as baseline, but they don't have that 100% block chance. I think they only have a chance to block, which is kind of crazy. But yeah, so far, the Guardian Druid feels great. Self-healing is kind of insane. Group healing, quite insane. Damage output right now is a bit lackluster, which I think is because of my my gear level. You know, being 440 kind of sucks. But as it goes up, as I get certain trinkets as well, I think it'll change significantly. It did for DPS and stuff like that as well. So, well, we'll see what happens. Right now, I have Rashok's pole arm, so I'm doing a pretty good burst damage. But also, when I have to switch out damage talents for defensive ones, just to be able to run these high keys right now, it's definitely noticeable. But as long as I'm able to hold aggro, I can do it forever, which is great. But yeah, if you try tanking dungeons at 440 or, you know, anywhere near there at a 20 or plus, you have to make sure you are on point with your defensives. Now, you don't have to be exactly, but close enough to where you always have some sort of at least small defensive ready to go, because you're taking you're not quite geared for this. Although we were doing them at the start of the season, it's a bit easier now, so late into the season, because your DPS are probably gonna have gear if you're pugging. But yeah, I really can't wait to get this geared. I'm gonna do another video on this probably in 2 weeks. I'll probably do a Shaman Mythic Plus video next week, just because I'm kind of getting the itch to play the Shaman more. Um, and also I feel like the majority of my content is Shaman based, and I want to make sure my Shaman viewers get what they subscribed for, because I really like Shaman and I really want to, show off my skills as a Shaman, I guess. I don't know. But if Shaman's ever get a tank spec, I'm probably never going to play any other class again, because, Shamans are then going to be a god tier class. It's great. But, yeah, I don't know. It's kind of crazy doing 20s at such a low item level. I've done it before as a DPS. It's not very often I do it as a tank, because, you have to actually tank it. But it is for certain doable on certain tanks. I don't know about doing it on Blood DK unless you're super, super, super comfortable with it. Because you are relying on taking damage and blood striking at a specific time. Uh, that one's kind of crazy to me. Guardian Druid, you just kind of walk in there. It's all, in my opinion, Guardian Druid is probably the easiest tank to learn and play, but maybe not so easy to master. I know Blood DK has a very high skill floor and skill ceiling. It is impressive when I see really good Blood DKs doing certain pulls. Like it's you have to be on point with your runic power and everything. It's insane. Demon Hunters, I think their skill floor is not as high as Blood DKs. I don't think anywhere near, because I don't think they take nearly as much damage as Blood DKs do. But their skill ceiling I don't think is as high either. Like they're in my opinion, they're a fairly simple tank to understand and work through. But I think Brewmaster is also up there with Blood DK, not as high, but higher than Demon Hunter. And then Prot Warrior, Prot Paladin, and Bear Druids, in my opinions, are probably the easiest tanks to understand. Very good for new players that want to tank or want to learn how to tank. Their kits are fairly straightforward, and they don't really require a lot of skill, I guess. Maybe Prot Paladin does. I haven't played it in a while, but from what I've seen, is it doesn't really have that super uh I don't know what I'm thinking, but super difficult kit. I think everything's straightforward. Prot Warrior, you just use shield block, and you can set it up so your shield block literally never goes off. Like, you never lose your shield block buff. You use everything, and you can never lose it just by shield slamming. It's great, simple. Bear Druid, it does take a little bit more of a thought process, but I think it's pretty easy. You do have a sort of cheat death system with your frenzied regen. It'll proc, and every 60 seconds you can get it back. It's pretty great. But yeah, I don't know. I think Guardian Druid is a great tank for new players. So far this season, I think it's still really, really strong. I don't see it falling behind. Next season, it might become stronger depending on the dungeons. I believe they are doing all Dragonflight dungeons for season 4, which, in my opinion, is actually kind of nice. Obviously, we did them for season 1 and season 2, which I can understand people being like, oh, I don't want to do it. But generally, when we have seasons, like Shadowlands, for example, we did 4 seasons of the same dungeons. And I'd really like to go back to the Dragonflight ones. They're new, for one thing. We did only play half of them each season, which is also a big thing. So we really didn't get a chance to quite, I don't know, understand the dungeon perfectly. Although I did them quite a lot and it did burn out. But I think doing old dungeons over new ones is kind of weird to me. I do like it going back to the old ones. It gets a bit of flavor back into the game, and I think it's great. It also uses the old content, but I really do prefer doing the new dungeons. And I think having the final season be all of the Dragonflight dungeons is the perfect way to end the expansion, as well as having all the raid cycle. I love the idea of this season 4 type of thing. It's amazing. I really, really do enjoy it. Uh, I think for Shadowlands it was a bit more stale because we did the dungeons so much already. It was kind of like, yeah, I don't really want to do them again. But I think for Dragonflight it's an amazing idea considering we didn't do them very much. And also I like the idea of being able to buy a token and get the or earn a token and get the trinket or whatever I want, right? So I think that's great. So it'll be an interesting season next. And we also got to choose our tier sets, so I hope everybody got what they wanted. I know I didn't, so I'm kind of with Shaman, but it is what it is. You know, you're not the only one playing it, so other people really enjoyed a certain tier set. So it happens. But I would have liked to seen a new tier set brought out. Would have been cool, but I understand how much work goes into that and how much balancing changes need to be. Um, but anyways, yeah. So I'm gonna be doing more of these Guardian Druids as the journey continues. Like I said, next week I think I'll be doing an Elemental Shaman video or even an Enhanced video. It's been a long time since I've touched Enhanced because of I don't know, I've just for once been stale of it with that Elementalist build, so I might just do a Storm one. People really seem to enjoy my Storm videos, so we'll see what happens. But the week after, I will put out another kind of montage type of video, and then maybe do like half a key and half a key. I don't know, we'll see what happens. But yeah, I plan to be getting this druid back into gear, seeing how high I can get before the season ends. I can't imagine it being too much longer because we only have till, I'm gonna guess August. I'm assuming the next X Pack release is gonna be in August. I can't imagine them doing it in November, and the reason why is BlizzCon. And lately they've been doing like fall or not fall, but like late summer releases. So I don't know. I'm excited for it. War Within is exciting. The hero talents are pretty cool. But yeah, we'll see how far we can get Season 3 Guardian Druid going, considering it is one of the worst tanks, according to sites and stuff and people. But I think when they say worst tank, they're not necessarily meaning it's complete garbage, you can't play this. It's like, compared to these two, it's not that great. So, but like I've said, I like taking the specs that are on the lowest spectrum or the low end of the spectrum and playing them and seeing what they can actually do. So it's a lot of fun. I enjoy it. But lately I've been burnt out, and that's why I'm doing this. And honestly, it's pretty great. Having fun. So if you enjoy this, please subscribe if you want to. Um, and I will have more. But yeah, that is going to be it for this video. Hopefully you enjoyed, and I hope to see you in the next one. Thank you very much for watching. Laters!
AOE incoming. Killads. AOE incoming.